guess what happened? The people lost their jobs and they lost their houses, and now we have a shrinking middle class. These were predictable events. In our society, one time, we bragged, and we should have had, because we had the freest market and we were the most prosperous, and we had the biggest middle class. But when you destroy a currency and you get too much involvement and you get business and government as partners, you wipe out the middle class. There's a transfer of wealth just by the nature of the destruction of a currency, that the middle class gets penalized more than the wealthy, and the money goes to the rich banks. The big banks are doing well, and right now their derivatives markets are into the many trillions. Nobody can measure 60, 70, 80 trillion dollars. It's all backed up by the American taxpayer. You say, well, how could that be? Why would Congress do it? Well, Congress doesn't do it. It isn't done by legislation. It's done by default by the Federal Reserve. That is why we have to have a full audit of the Federal Reserve and find out exactly. In the last 4 years. Matter of fact, more progress than I ever dreamed of, because for a long time, especially since the 70s when I became concerned, I've been talking about it, I've been voting a certain way and trying to get the American people to pay attention. So I never really expected that the explosion of interest would be what we've had here in these last 4 years. I think also in the area of foreign policy, we have a long way to go, but we're winning that argument too. The American people are just sick and tired of all these wars, and they are agreeing with me that it's time, since we are especially a broke nation, it's time to bring our troops home and end these wars. This entitlement system out of control, a banking system out of control, a Federal Reserve that's serving the benefit of special interests, and also these wars overseas that are to not our benefit. It does not give us more protection. We spend more money there and we make more enemies. That's what happens. And a lot of people would say, and they would accuse me, especially when I've been arguing this case for many years, that, oh, if you don't support the war, you don't support the troops. Sure, that's sure. Who's going to believe that? They keep saying, well, it's un-American. You got to support the DOD budget regardless. Well, you're unpatriotic. Well, if this is the case, they ought to ask the question, why